Any questions there, guys? We'll get started. Here we go. We'll go to Alex Malcolm.
Hi, Matthew. Hope you're well. First question, how have you spent the sort of time off between your last quarantine coming back from Bangladesh and now you obviously were a bit unlucky not to get that game up in those 2 games up in Queensland. How have you spent it in terms of getting some preparation in for this tournament?
Yeah, I spent the first couple of weeks just refreshing, to be honest. It was a challenging tour, the last one we went on, not only conditions-wise, but I suppose mentally with the quarantine that we face at the moment. It's probably more of a mental challenge than a physical challenge throughout some of these tours. So the first few weeks I just spent with my family and friends and just relaxed a little bit. And then after that, the next 4 or 5 weeks after that, just gradually started to build it back up. And obviously 2 or 3 weeks ago, really honed down my preparation for the Shield game in the one day that we're going to play against Queensland, which unfortunately got called off the day of the game. So back to Hobart and in the net. So pretty similar preparation to the West Indies tour, to be honest. There wasn't a lot of cricket on then, just get your stuff in your states, and then when we get here, thankfully we've got a pretty good run at it, to be honest. We're in our rooms for the next 6 days, but after that we've got a nice lead in, a couple of warm-up games, and then the first World Cup game. So no real pressure on preparation too much at the moment. Once we get into these conditions and start our preparation, that's when it really hits home that we've got a tournament coming up, and that we've got ample time to get ourselves prepared there.
Just on that, looks like the team's going to be pretty flexible with the batting lineup, particularly through the middle and in terms of matchups and positional play. How do you prepare mentally and technically for the variety of roles and situations that you're going to face?
Yeah, probably preparing more to nail down a middle order to lower order role at the moment. If I go in the first 6 overs, then obviously I've done that over the last couple of years, and I'm more than comfortable to do that. Just tapping in on the experience that I've had over a 10-year period now. I think before the West Indies series, we spoke about this as well. I've batted pretty much everywhere in the order for Australia. So it's just getting back and tapping into that experience that I've had over a longer period of time. And starting to work out if that looks like a middle order role that I'm going to be playing, then starting to train that a little bit more. Obviously the 5 men out is a very big difference to the 2 men out. So just working on a few different things. Thankfully, I've got some shots that are pretty vital towards the back end of the innings with laps and things like that. So, I'm probably training towards middle to lower order because I know that I can go back to the top of the order and I'll be fine there.
Thanks, Matthew.
Martin Smith. Marty.
Thanks, Cole. Hi, Matthew. Just sort of, following from Alex's question, but have you been, I'm guessing from your answer before, that you've been given an indication that you are most likely to bat further down the order? Is that the case?
I don't think I've been given an indication yet, but obviously with David coming back and Aaron didn't play last series, so when I've opened the batting, it's been when one of those guys have been missing. There's no secrets that they're the best 2 opening batters that Australia have ever had. So those 2 are going to go up the top, and just reading between the lines with the way that Mitch played last series, then he'll probably slot in at the top of the order. I suppose my role at the top of the order may be if we want to go a little bit harder and they want a left-hander, that'll be, maybe I'll go in then. But apart from that, I would see myself settling towards the middle to lower order. So haven't had extensive conversations with Finchy and JL and Bales about this yet, but I've been around long enough to know where I probably sit within the team, and that's why my training's been tailored towards getting used to that lower order. I batted, I think 5 maybe in the last T20 in the West Indies, or 6 as well. So, I've known for a long period of time that they want me to be versatile in the position that I can play, and that's what I'll do.
But you obviously have batted mostly at the top of the order, even recently, New Zealand, most of the West Indies, most of Bangladesh, you're batting at the top. Can you just talk us through, previous examples where you have batted sort of lower down the order? I think on that South African tour about 2 years ago you did. How did you find the adjustment, and what sort of things are you working on specifically in terms of adjusting to that role down the order?
Yeah, I'd say I've probably done half and half. I opened 2 games in Australia. I opened 4 games in New Zealand, then batted 3. West Indies, I've batted at the top of the order and then went to the middle order in the 1 days and the T20. So I've probably done half and half over the last 2 years anyway. Yeah, it's a different position. It's pretty clear it's a different position. We're looking at my role at the top of the order was to go out there and try and get off to a flyer and make it a bit easier for the guys at the back end, whether we're setting or chasing runs. So in this scenario, depending on what the pitches are doing, then you dictate it on how you have to play. But at the lower end of the order, you're looking at 10 or 12 balls, hopefully at a maximum if we're batted really well. So it's how you're going to try and cash in on those. As I said, I've got a lap in my game, and I got that when I was batting down the bottom order. I've probably batted 90 times at 7 in 1 day international cricket. And I've probably worked on those skills over a long period of time. So it's just getting back into the nets and doing those a little bit more than probably what you do when you're batting at the top of the order.
Cool, mate. Thank you.
No worries.
Mel Farrell.
Thanks, Cole. Thanks, Matt. I guess just following on from that as well, I know you're talking about different shots, but is it a massive mental adjustment if you're going in between, and if you're preparing for that? As you said, at some point you might come in at the top order if they want a left-hander or there's an injury. How is there things that you have to do to mentally adjust fairly quickly to that?
It's exactly what you said. It's just a mental mind shift, to be honest, depending on what your role is within the team. I'm really comfortable, and luckily enough that I've played a lot of cricket. Obviously, coming into World Cups, the more experience that you had, the better it kind of is in these scenarios. So nothing will surprise me whether I'm told to open the batting or whether I'm told to bat 8. I don't think there's too much of a difference for me. Yeah, it's just tailoring my game, which is just a mental shift, to be honest. So, that's something that I wanted to bring to the table over my whole career, to have the versatility to bat anywhere. You've seen it throughout my test career as well. I opened batting last summer as well, so it doesn't really bother me too much. Wherever I get told to bat, I go out and I'll do my absolute best. So there'll be no excuses in terms of preparation or mentally being switched on to what position I get sent in. It's just when it's my go time, it's my go time, and I'll go out there and do my best.
And as you say, you've got experiences going into World Cups before. Can you give us a sense, is this does it seem like a really bizarre lead in? That the way this has worked out, you've got batters who haven't batted at all, even sitting in the IPL, you're sitting in hotel rooms now. Can you give us a sense of just maybe how weird it is?
Yeah, this last couple of years has been really, really strange. I think, it shows how fickle at times, I suppose, we were back before COVID, when we needed this preparation or we needed that preparation. The last 2 years has probably showed us that, mentally, if you can find a way to push through these challenges and convince yourself that you're ready to go, then you'll be okay. So I think that's probably been the positive over the last couple of years, is that we've been put in scenarios which has not been ideal preparation for anyone, but it hasn't made too much of a difference. Guys can still go out there and perform it on the biggest stage. So it's all these scenarios are challenging as a team, but as I said before, the advantage is that we've got a really nice lead in, plenty of time over here to get used to the conditions, and then we'll hit the ground running by game 1. But it's they're always challenging these times, but you just got to. The advantage is that we've got a little bit of experience in this as well. We've done this now, numerous amount of times, and so are the other countries. They're in exactly the same position as us. So, we'll find a way to work through these first, the first 6 to 7 days is obviously the challenge, and then once we're out and about, we'll be into it.
And just on that, just last one for me. Well, what are you doing in your room in the next 6 days? Like, have you got exercise equipment in there? Are you studying other teams, watching videos? What are you doing?
Yeah, we haven't got exercise equipment yet. I think that's on the way today, hopefully. But we've got we've got group chats that we have every single day. Group exercise sessions that our strength and conditioning coaches organise. So we do that for half an hour. We've got a balcony behind me, which I've had to shut the curtains because it's too bright. So we're getting out there in the heat and sweating. We did a little session yesterday. We'll do those every day for the next 6 days. And then, just kind of get your body moving as much as you can in your room. Watch a bit of TV, speak to the family 4 or 5 times on FaceTime if I can, and then go to bed and get up and do it all again for the next 6 days. But we'll have a few meetings as well, I'm sure, a few opposition stuff. And, in the foyer before we came up, I met with Finchy and our batting coaches and just, nut out a little bit of a plan over the next week or two. But you kind of, it's repetitive, but if you get in a routine, you can kind of get through these times, get up, have your breakfast, coffee, lunch, dinner, and roll it all again the next day.
Well, enjoy it. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Dan Brettig.
G'day, Matt. Just a question about that sort of, you mentioned, potentially coming in 7, 8 may only have 10, 12 balls. The guys who sort of do that on the T20 circuit around the world, and I suppose specialists at that, seem to have the confidence that, if the ball's even roughly kind of in their area, they can clear the boundary almost from the first ball. I mean, how do you adapt, I guess, to being able to do that when obviously that's built on doing it year after year, I suppose?
Yeah, you don't really have a choice, I suppose, is the answer to that question. It's, depending on what we need, let's go out there and go straight away from the first ball. The hard thing is, well, not the hard thing, the thing that, I'm not going to put any preconceived ideas in my head about what I need to go out and do in the middle order. Whatever scenario comes my way, I'm confident that I can find a way to do it. But we saw in the West Indies and in Bangladesh that a lot of the time at the moment on these pitches, it's not go out there and swing as hard as you can from ball one. It's kind of, you got to find a way to, if you can strike, if the pitches deteriorate, if you're striking over 100 towards the back end and you can find, those gaps to run your twos and find a boundary here and there, then that's really, really good going at the back end of an innings here. In Australia and England and those conditions, we know that you've got to go out and go from ball one, but we're not 100% sure what we're going to get over here. Obviously, the IPL's been on. We're not sure if we're reusing those pitches, if they've got new pitches for us. So it's kind of the first week in our prep is going to be really judging what the conditions are going to be like. And then obviously that dictates how we'll go about it at the end. But there's plenty of ways to get it done at the back end. A lot of guys have power. I feel like I've got the power if I need to find boundaries, but obviously if conditions are going to be hard work, then it's going to be, like a Mike Hussey type role. You got to try and, hit it over those boxmen and run as hard as you can.
And that's the other question I was going to ask, just about the conditions. I mean, they were extreme conditions in Bangladesh. I suppose you're hoping that won't be too relevant to what you get in this tournament, because if it's even, however much better it is than that, it should make the game a bit easier for everyone.
Yeah, fingers crossed they're not like that. I think the wickets over there, they'll probably more like a wet kind of a spin, so a tacky kind of a spin, which is really challenging. Over here, they're obviously going to be dry and potentially they'll be slower, but more towards probably the West Indies type pitches. So thankfully, we've had a little bit of experience there in the last month or two on those wickets. So I think they may play a little bit more towards them, but I haven't been watching as much as the IPL. I'm not sure, as I said before, if they're going to be playing on the same pitches or if they've been reusing pitches in the IPL to try and save some pitches for the T20 World Cup. So, it's going to be, get to the ground, have a look at the pitch, and then that dictates the way we're going to be able to go about it as a batting unit.
Thank you.
Sam Dojan.
Thanks, Kyle. Hi, Matt. Hope you're going well, mate. Just following on from the talk about the Bangladesh and West Indies series, as a team unit, are there lessons that you've learned, with a bit of time to reflect on how they unfolded, that you can use coming into the World Cup, or were some of those results ones that you just go, okay, we banked that and, we know our plan and we kept moving forward?
Yeah, I think there's been heaps of lessons learned, especially guys that haven't played in those conditions. I'm lucky enough I went to the West Indies in 2012 and I went to India in 2013, I think it was, in my first tours. And even going back there 3 or 4 years later, you can tap into that experience that you've had on those pitches. So there's no doubt for some of the younger players and myself as well, the more experienced players, it's vital to get some cricket in those kind of conditions before you're leading into a big series like this, so a World Cup. So, there's been lessons learned. It's more just a refresher, like when you play on those wickets, you're like, oh, that's right, I can't do that, I can't do this. So we've already had those lessons in the last couple of months, which is nice. So, and guys are here playing IPL as well, so they're already used to these conditions. So, that's all a positive moving in towards the first game.
Yeah, for sure. Just about the Ashes this summer as well, I was just going to ask more broadly. There's obviously been a bit of back and forth about quarantine restrictions and the like. Have you been surprised about talk of uncertainty and, doubt being cast on the Ashes, potentially going ahead in its, preferred format over the last few weeks?
No, not really. I'm not surprised with anything in these times. it's challenging for everyone. You know, it's easy to judge people and decisions that individuals are making, but until you've been put in these environments, in these positions, and had to play under these conditions, I think it's hard to pass judgment on anyone. It's an individual thing. Some guys struggle more with quarantine than others. There's no hiding that. That's the challenges that professional cricketers have at the moment. You know, our sport is played overseas. We have to go overseas to play and to keep the game going. We understand that, and individuals find it harder than the others. So there's no difference between, you know, what England are going through now to what every other team goes through to go away and play. It's not easy, and I don't pass judgment on any team or any individual for the challenges that they're facing. They're trying to, you know, work it all out. And you know, I'm confident the Ashes is going to go ahead. It's never been a doubt in my mind, to be honest. But yeah, there are challenging parts of it for the individual and for the team.
Yeah, for sure. Just a quick follow up from that one. Last one from me. But do you think that the English side has potentially copped a bit of a bad rap about the way that they've approached it? Like, has it been unfair, that kind of treatment that you mentioned before?
Oh, I haven't read enough stuff to be able to pass judgment on, you know, what's really going on there. I've seen a little bit of it and I've heard a little bit of it, but no, I haven't read in enough to be able to pass judgment on whether they've been treated fairly or not. As I said, for me, it's an individual thing. You know, there's individual players in their team that I'm sure are apprehensive about coming in and doing the quarantine. There's no difference between, you know, the Australian cricket team coming home and having to do quarantine. It's apprehension and there's nerves, and it's some people don't cope with it as well as others. As I said, we saw the Olympic people come back, and some of those guys had challenges as well. It's not easy, but that's the way it is at the moment.
For sure. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it, mate. All the best.
Thanks, Sam. Last one here for Dan Coppell. Dan?
Thanks, Cole. Thanks, Matt. Matt, what sort of prep have you done in terms of keeping and preparing to keep on the spinning wickets of the UAE?
Just my normal stuff, to be honest, mate. No different to what I did in the West Indies and in Bangladesh. Probably kept the best that I've probably kept in my career, to be honest, over those tours. So feeling really confident with the gloves, just making sure I'm mentally fresh in the mind more than anything. Early on in my career, I probably did too much, I think, and probably burnt myself out before tours. And that's something that I've really learnt over, the last couple of years, being not a full-time keeper, is that I need to get my work done and then get out of there, not spend time catching balls just for the sake of it. So I've done a bit of stuff at home. I really crack in when I get here now, and in that 12 days building up to the first game. But I'm confident in what I've been doing, and I think you can only look at what I did in the West Indies and Bangladesh and be confident that it's going to be fine.
And obviously those teams in the West Indies and Bangladesh were a little bit different to the squad that's going out for this. Is there any sort of individual plans for players that you work, especially with particular players, to prepare for that?
Sorry, mate, you have to rephrase that. What are you talking about, us or about other teams?
So are you working specifically with guys like Adam Zampa and the other spinners to prepare for them particularly that you haven't kept with as much?
Yeah, both the spinners were in the West Indies and Bangladesh. Same with Swepson. So I've kept all those games to those guys. So I prepare with them before games and during, just before we play. So it'll be no different there. I've kept to those two for a long period of time now.
Fantastic. Thanks, Cole. Thanks, Matt.
One last one here, guys. Back to Dan Bredig to finish us off. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Cole. Matthew, just one in terms of, obviously Josh Inglis has come into the squad as a right-handed keeper batter. Do you foresee, that you guys might be swapped in and out depending on whether they want another right-hander or a left-hander? Like, how do you see sort of your roles in relation to each other on this trip?
No, I wouldn't have thought that we'll be swapped in and out from game to game. They'll make the decision at the start of the tournament, and that player will play the tournament, I would have thought. So, I played the last series, and I'm confident that I'll play this series. We'll wait and see. But no, I don't think it'll be a horses for courses type thing. They'll pick the wicketkeeper batter, and that'll be the person that plays the World Cup. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks, Wadey, for your time today. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and we'll catch up with you on the next one tomorrow. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys. Thank you.